Hello everyone, and welcome back to another exciting knife review by George. And today we're going to review the Emerson Vindicator knife. As usual, I'll put all the details here in the description section of the knife review video. So we're going to jump straight into the knife review. Okay. So overall, I think the knife has a very good ergonomics. Holding in your hand, it feels better than some of my fixed blade knives, and the build quality is excellent as well. I'm talking about especially comparing with my other Emerson knife like the Horseman, which had a somewhat a substandard build quality, but this one has very good quality. Made in 2014. Perhaps they improved their quality over the years. In detail, okay, so the knife steel is 154 cm steel, and obviously it's a very proven steel, and everyone in the market will probably know about the steel by now. It's got a very good balance between the edge retention as well as corrosion resistance, and it's reasonably tough as well. So that's a good choice for the steel, good choice for the steel, and the sharpness on this knife is also very nice. We're gonna do a cut demonstration here. As you can see, it slices paper like there's nothing. And the recurve blade here actually provides you extra cutting ability. As you can see, there's a big belly here, and then it goes back toward the tongue of the knife. So it's not straight line here, there's a slight curve. And that actually provides extra cutting power. The tip here is quite strong. As you can see, it's a fairly thick tip. And on this angle, you can see it's a very sort of like almost a chop point kind of style, but it's a clip point. And there's some ramp here is also providing some limited jimping, although it's not aggressive. It feels like it gives you some degree of sort of traction, and also just provides very good comfort. Ambidextrous thumb disc, of course. That's an Emerson sort of signature opening mechanism. So you can open it from left and the right hand side. And just overall, it's very cool knife. And I think in the picture on the internet, I didn't find it so cool. But when I hold one in my hand, it just feels much nicer. As you can see, it feels like a very aggressive sort of looking, like a big machete sort of shape. It has a stone wash on the flat side, and there's a satin finish on the grind. So that's a very interesting two-tone finish. And some of the stuff here, I highlight them because I've already talked about all these things in my other knife review, the Emerson Horseman. You can look it up, and I'm not going to waste too much time on the common things that I already talked about before. If you look at here, it's got full flow through design, so if the knife gets a lot of lint or anything, you just compress the air, blow all the dirt and lint out. It's very easy. The handle. Now, I've got a medium-sized hand. I hold this knife like this, and there's still extra space for me. So I imagine if you're a very big guy, your hand is very big, and you can probably find still extra space to hold the knife, and that's very nice as well. It's a built to be a hard use and sort of quite a very comfortable knife. And obviously the ergonomics, like all Emerson knives, they have excellent ergonomics, and the grip style, you can grip it like this. It's still just very nice to hold it. And there's jimping on the index finger on the liner. It's not a very aggressive jimping, but you can feel the texturing gives you some degree of security. There's a lanyard hole on the back, although it's a sort of fairly small sized lanyard hole. It's similar size to the other screws here. There's the liner here. There's on this side is actually stainless steel. On this end is the titanium alloy. So that just means the titanium alloy is going to give you a lot of strength, but with somewhat reduced weight. And once again, I've highlighted a lot of common things that I mentioned in my Emerson horseman review video, so I'm not going to jump into details. We'll cut down time of this video by doing that. There's some negative stuff about the knife. So for one thing, this thing is 6 ounces. That's a lot of weight for a knife of this size. I mean, this is a 3.8 inches long blade, as far as I remember, 0.75 inches long blade, and 6 ounces. So that's very, very heavy. And out of the box, like many Emerson knives, they just simply not like a smooth opening. As you can see, like I'm actually fairly proficient at flicking knife open, but opening this knife, it's just going to require a lot of wearing in. You have to get used to it, and you have to actually lubricate the pivot, and you have to loosen the pivot sometimes. But it's actually smoother than my Emerson horseman, because the other Emerson I've got, the horseman, basically with 2 hands you struggle to open it. Anyways, the recurve blade. Now, if you have ever sharpened the recurve, if you've ever sharpened any blades at all, or recurve blade, you probably notice that, you know, sort of without a sort of a straight edge or a curved belly, having this little recurve would cause you, basically, you won't be able to sharpen it on a flat bench stone. It will be easier to do it with a sharpening rod or diamond sharpening rod or something. And also, the blade is quite stiff out of the box, and you can hear this sound. I think that's probably the liner detent is rubbing against the steel. Anyways, it's just not very smooth when you open it. Anyways, the wave opening can wear out the liner quite fast. So if you deploy this knife by using the wave, if you know what the wave opening mechanism is you put it in your pocket, put the knife in your pocket in closed position. As you take the knife out of the pocket, this little thing gets caught in the pocket, and you get the knife open immediately when you take it out. But that requires you to have to draw the knife really fast. Doing so would actually wear out the liner lock very quickly, because that's titanium alloy. That's something to consider. And the handle, there's no weight reduction whatsoever for the handle, so it's all solid liner in there. They didn't try to reduce the weight too much, hence the 6 ounces weight, and the small lanyard hole, as I previously mentioned. And all this stuff, again, I've already mentioned it in my horseman review. I put a reference link in the end of the video, so you can watch that video to understand what I meant. Otherwise, if you freeze this picture or read the description section of the video, you'll find what it's all about. Anyways, now we're moving on. There is no backspacer at the end of the handle here, so if you use this knife as some kind of like a bashing tool, or use it as a impact weapon, a lot of stress will be exerted on the screw here. In that case, it's likely to sort of damage your knife handle. So I wouldn't recommend using this knife as a hammering tool at all. There's a sand belt finish on the liner. I will show you. If you look closely inside the liners, you can see there's somewhat like a rough finish. And that rough finish, it's like a Emerson knife is probably the only one I've noticed do this kind of finish. Is that they basically, I think they used they put the liners on the sand belt and then just grind off any excess sort of like material or anything to make the finish. I don't mind that, but the sand belt finish is quite rough finish, and it may promote rusting issue for the stainless steel side at least. But according to Emerson, Ernest Emerson himself in their website, he claims that that's like a very, very rust resistant stainless steel, so he thinks it's not going to rust if you take care of the knife. So who knows? It's probably a 300 series stainless steel, which I know very, very rust resistant due to the fact they often used on like a sort of dishwasher or dish sink, like a very water aquatic environment. The knife is not a full flat grind knife, so you can see the grind only goes up to about like 40% of the width of the knife. So this means it's going to have a very, very steep angle here, and you use this knife to cut anything like fruits and stuff, it's just not going to cut that well. That's just geometry of the knife. There's nothing else. There's no wonder why it does that. And also, there's no finger choil on the blade to do any kind of fine control, so you can't do like what you do with spectacle knives. You can't put your finger here. It's going to be very sharp. And there's a chisel grind on the knife. So Emerson's well known for using chisel grind on their knives. So on this side, you don't see any grind lines, just flat. And on this side, you get chisel. So that kind of what it does is like when you cut stuff, and you try to cut this way. You try to cut it this way, vertically. But when you start cutting it, you can see I've obviously aimed to cut vertical, but it went sort of diagonal in the direction. So what that means is like if you're cutting materials, just be aware like this knife tend to cut off center from your intended direction. So that may be a problem to you, may or may not be. It's not a big deal, but some people find it annoying. Next up, I found some discs, it's just not that great to use. For one, it just feels somewhat a bit clumsy, and two is that when you do use it, this Emerson, some discs have like a very rough finish texturing on it, like a diamond shape, and it's very, very rough. So when you do use it, it kind of like cuts into your finger, or if you do flick it open, it will just like kind of bites into your nail a lot, if that bothers you. The final note on this knife is that I really quite like the knife. Overall design is excellent, very cool. And the quality at this time is almost unpickable. I couldn't see anything wrong with this knife in terms of fit and finish. It suddenly reset my opinion on It resets my opinion on the Emerson knives quality, and I've got much more respect for them now. I would just say that some people on the internet have like actually mentioned Emerson knives like poor fit and finish. The liners are rough. I don't think that's something to complain about because that's a design choice. If you look at the liners here, they would have lines sort of like going in this direction, And if you own any Emerson knives, you pay very close attention. You can see a faint stone wash on the liners, but it's very faint because I don't think they put it in their tumbler for very long. But all the knives I've got, both this knife and the Emerson Horseman, I couldn't see any rough edges on the handle scales or the liners. So that means Emerson does have a good fit and finish. The fact that you see all these like grind lines on the liners, it's just simply you can see from this angle very well. That's just a design choice because they chose to do it that way. And I think that's kind of cool because you don't really see how a lot of knife manufacturers do kind of this kind of thing. They look rough, but they just kind of, I think Emerson is about the functionality. The other thing about the Emerson knives is I think people say, oh no, Emerson knives cost too much money. But you gotta think that Emerson knives probably don't sell as many knives as Spyderco or Benchmade's do, and having not sold so many models, they would probably not be able to make a very competitive price offering. And that's fine because this knives made in the USA, they're probably a small business, so the price will have to cover all their costs. And I think Emerson piloted their wave design, which is very nice, and I would like to encourage knife manufacturers or anyone to sort of innovate or bring up new ideas and new features to their products. So here I'd just like to say that, don't give them too hard a time. Emerson knives are not bad. I think I would like to see them maybe come up with some better locking mechanisms, which is currently the liner lock. Liner lock is all right. It's functional. It works, but it's not the strongest lock in the world. And Emerson knives call themselves, known in all the worst places, or the #1 hard use knife. Liner lock is probably not the best thing to go if you want to call yourself that. I would say that's something I think they can improve, perhaps. So that concludes my review of this knife. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.